When testing small children, you might not get a response at their threshold. Small children don't respond to acoustic signals at thresholds. The sounds should, have to be made more clearly audible to them. So you're not going to necessarily say it's a child's threshold. Rather, you'll say it's their minimum response level, or the lowest level that a response is offered by a child to the stimulus. And depending on a variety of circumstances, that could either be barely audible or well above the child's threshold. Speech and language are imitative processes acquired primarily through the auditory sense. If you can't hear, you're not going to learn spoken language. So a hearing deficit can interfere with development. Before newborn hearing screening was implemented, most children with hearing loss were not identified until they were around 2 or 3 years old when they weren't developing spoken language. Infants with hearing loss do babble, but children with normal hearing at around 6 months notice their coos that come from their own mouth, and they begin to amuse themselves by varying the rate, the pitch, and the loudness, lolling, and playing with the sounds. Children with hearing impairment don't receive adequate auditory feedback and gradually decrease their vocalizations. Children with normal hearing go into stages of echolalia where they repeat sounds and words that they hear. The earlier in life a child with hearing loss is identified, the greater the chance of successful rehabilitation. So during the critical period of development, lots of things are happening with the brain and language, so the earlier hearing loss is identified and treated, the better. We now have testing at birth because there's evidence that hearing loss will be detected earlier than it would be without the screening. We have follow-up diagnostic tests immediately after failing hearing screenings, and we have treatment accessibility after the diagnosis. Infant hearing screening. So hearing loss is found in about 1 out of 50 infants who come from the newborn intensive care unit, the NICU. And the infants that go into the NICU are based on their APGAR score. APGAR stands for Appearance, Pulse, Grimace, Activity, and Respiration. And the infants are scored on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, at 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 10 minutes. A low APGAR score would put a child in the NICU, and it helps determine whether or not a child needs additional oxygen or whether there is the likelihood of central nervous system damage. Children with low APGAR scores should be suspected of having sensorineural hearing losses.